Hey, I'm Susan Palmer, and today I want to show you my arrangement for a jazz standard called Like Someone in Love. I'm going to play it first, and then we're going to break down all those caged chords. All right, let's get down to it. So if you are working through the Guitar Lesson Companion Volume 1, all of the caged chords are on page 146. We've got the major 7, the minor 7, the dominant 7 for all 5 shapes, as well as some killer exercises to ensure that you know all your notes, you know all those chord shapes, and all of the keys and all of the situations. So that will prep you to be able to play this. So if you haven't done that work yet, call me up for a lesson. Let's get that work done so you can start playing some tunes. The goal of this is I want to kind of walk you through this so that you can see how to do this on your own for other tunes that you want to play. This is one of my favorite tunes, so that's why I picked it for today. And yeah, we're just going to kind of walk through what's going on, and hopefully you'll be able to play it, or even better would be play a slightly different arrangement of it that you make up, because jazz always sounds nice when we have some variations out there. So this is a very simple version of it. I am reading the melody on the page an octave higher than it's written, which is standard as far as reading jazz standards on guitar. And I do that so that I can keep that melody on either the B string or the E string in most cases, because that's going to cut through the mix a little bit more. And that requires a little more control with your right hand, so we'll talk about that when that comes up. First note of this song is E, and it's written like this, but we're going to play it an octave higher, so we're going to play it right here. And I'm looking for a chord shape that is a C major 7 chord that includes that note E, and this A string root chord shape does that job beautifully. One thing with this C chord right here, C major 7 chord right here, is that you have to be a little bit careful so you're not hitting that note G, which is on your high E string, because that is not our melody, and we want that note E to really come through, so that's got to be the highest note we play. Now, to accomplish that, you can be careful with your picking hand if you're using a pick right there, or your thumb, however you're playing this. What I did, pretty sure, because I like to do this a lot, is I played hybrid picking piano style. And what I mean by that is hybrid picking means I'm using the pick and my fingers at the same time. And piano style, I don't think I'm the person who made that up. I've heard other guitar players do it, but I can't remember where I first heard that from. But when I think of a piano player comping chords, they're hitting all the notes at once, all the keys at once. And piano style on guitar means, I'm picking this note C here on the A string at the same time as I am picking individually these other strings. And I'm stopping on that high B string there so that I don't get any unwanted sounds there. And it also gives me this kind of nice percussive sound, which I really like. So that's the first part of the first measure. We're going to go through this much quicker, but I wanted to get all specific on that first part there up front. So we got the C major 7. Next chord is E7, and I'm playing a B string root. So here's the note E on the B string, otherwise known as a C shape, E7 chord right there. And then I've got an A minor 7 chord on the chart there. I'm going to start with just an A minor triad. I'm thinking, E string root, but I'm playing A, C, and E. And that's because that note E is our melody note. And then I can grab that note A on top, because that's our next melody note. And then I let go of that A on my D string, and I play a G there to get the full A minor 7 effect. And then I can get that note G and the melody on the B string there. So the first two measures, I get that little octave there. I think that's kind of cool. And then I let go to play that note E on the B string there. Next chord is D7. And I'm playing another B string root or C shape D7 chord right here. I played E7 in a C shape earlier. So now I'm playing a D7 in a C shape. And then for this right here, I am thinking of a B7 sharp 5, which is the tritone sub of that F7 chord right there, and the F7 sharp 11. And you can think about it both of those ways. This is how I teach my students this chord, because we base it off of a B7 and an E string root. And in a B7 E string root, your 5 is under your third finger there, that F sharp, and we increase that by a half step to get to that note G. I'm rearranging my fingers a bit, so I have a bar straight across that 7th fret. My second finger is on the 8th fret of the G string on the note E flat or D sharp, and my third finger is on the 8th fret of the B string on that note G there, and then first finger is hitting that B. So you can analyze this as being an F9 chord with a sharp 11. You can also analyze it as a B7 chord with a sharp 5. And I like thinking of it this way just because it's easier for me to show my students that. And B7 is the tritone sub of F7. So it's kind of a handy little lesson there. So that's what I'm playing there. I'm thinking of this right now as a B7 sharp 5. Next chord we have is an E minor 7 followed by an A7. And I'm doing this really cool little slick movement right here I want to show you. I'm playing an A string root E minor 7, and I'm just playing 3 notes because that's all I can grab that is that gets that melody note, that G on top. And then I'm changing just one note in this. I'm moving this note D to C sharp, and I'm going to replace my first finger with my second finger so that I can use my first finger to get that C sharp there. And now I have an A7 right there. I didn't move anything else, just that one note there. But this is a really cool grip to know. It's a great one when you're playing a 2-5 chord progression because it's just one note that changes. And here, if I were playing that full chord, I'd have E minor 7 followed by A9. If you're playing that high E string there, you get that note B on top, which is the 9. So that's really cool, 2 chord to a dominant 9 chord. Remember, a dominant 9 chord can function the same as a dominant 7 chord. They're both in the dominant family, so they work. But in this case, E minor 7, and then we've got A7 right there is what we're thinking for that. So the first line, very cool. Okay, next up we have D minor 7. I'm playing an A string root for that, and I'm stopping the chord on that note F because that's our melody note. I'm playing just a single C there. You could play, if you wanted to, you could play a G string root, D minor 7, to have that note C in there if you wanted that part harmonized. And then here I'm playing a D string root G7 chord. And then I let off that pinky there to hit that melody note A. Then I have another C major 7 chord, but this one, I get to hit that note G on top. So I can, go ahead and just strum to my heart's content right there. Then we have a big leap. So I'm playing that note E way up high. And then we're going to use the same concept that we used down here for the E minor 7 to A7. But in this case, we're going to play all of those strings. So I've got the G minor 7 going to the C9 chord there. And it's a 9 chord because I have that D on top. So A string root, G minor 7 chord. And then I'm switching one finger. That note F goes to E. And now I have a C9, C dominant 9 chord there. So that line... That's how I'm playing that. Next up, we have an F major 7 with a D on top. And when we add that note D, which is the melody, it becomes a major 13 chord. So the D is the 13 in the key of F. So I'm playing an A string root, F major 7, flattening out that pinky there to get that note D on top. And then I'm just playing a single note, C sharp. That's just in the melody note there. And then I'm playing a B minor 7 chord in a D shape, but our melody is E on top. So I'm going to rearrange my fingers so I can get that note E on top. So I'm playing B, F sharp, A, and E. That's how I get that. I'm following the music here. So there's the E, and then the D. You can play the chord or a single note. Next up, we have an E7 chord with a C sharp on top. So here's what I play for that, and I want to walk you through that. So if we think about an E7 chord in a C shape, or that B string root, like we've played this shape a few times now in this. So here's my E7. Now if I wanted to turn this into a dominant 9 chord, I would take this note here, E, and move that up a whole step to F sharp, keeping my other fingers the same. This is my chord voicing I get. And you can hit that high E string if you want. Then I'm grabbing that note C sharp with my pinky. So now I have an E13 chord. Now that's just a handful, so I'm going to kind of change my fingers around so I can grab that E7 with that C sharp on top. So it's E13, right like that. Next up, A major 7 and an E string root. I'm following that with B minor 7, C sharp minor 7, just because that's kind of a fun movement. Then we go to A minor 7 with C on top, so I'm playing a D string root, A minor 7 right there, and letting go to get that melody note, that B, and then I go up here, playing a D7 chord in an E shape, or an E string root. Here's the thing. Here's my D7 chord, E string root that we know and love. Because my low E string has the same notes as my high E string, I can flip that. So now I'm playing this note here on my D on my high E string. So I have C natural, F sharp, A, and D. And then I'm walking that down, C, B, A, and then I've got D minor 7 in a C shape, followed by G7 sharp 5. So this kind of comes back to why I presented that B7 the way I did a little bit earlier. Here's a G7 chord. D is my 5th note. I'm going to raise that to D sharp to create a D7 sharp 5. All right, so that's a lot. Let's do those 2 lines there from that F7. I shake when I do these videos, but I get real nervous. I don't know why, so apologies for those missed notes there. I'm working on it like everybody is. All right, the second half of this tune, everything is the same as the first half until kind of the midpoint of that 3rd line down there. We get to that A major 7 again. So we have the A major 7 with E is our melody note there. And the next chord we have a D7 with F sharp on top. No big deal. We follow that with D sharp 7. D sharp diminished 7, which sounds really complicated, and it can be. But here's a way to break it down. D sharp 7 diminished, or D sharp diminished 7, is the same as a D7 chord, except I'm replacing that root note D with D sharp. All those other notes, they stay the same. So it's just one note I'm changing, and then I kind of change my fingers around because I don't need that bar anymore. But if you want to just do, you've got that. And then we're going to come back to our friend, the A string root for that E minor 7, the A7 that we've done earlier, D minor 7 in an A shape, and then I'm playing, you can go up here if you want to hit a chord, and then G7. And to finish this off, I just played a C6-9 chord. So this one here, I forgot to mention, this is a D string root G7. We've played that before. And you can play a full C6-9 chord there, or just part of it, which is what I did. So I hope that helps. And, you know, hope that gives you something to kind of work on and maybe some inspiration for learning those CAGED chords. Thanks for bearing with me on this lesson here. Gosh, I still feel like I'm new at doing this stuff. I really crave the audience feedback so I know where people are at and stuff. So this video format's still a little bit odd for me. So thanks for watching, and yeah, stay well.